Hi, I'm Jonathan. I am a family therapist and I'm also an addictions counselor. And one of the things that I deal with on a regular basis is families that have been impacted by addiction. And there's kind of the obvious part of that situation that people think about. It's the addicted person and their spouse, their partner, the person that they're in a close relationship with, and the struggle between the two of them. But there's another component that is often left out. And that component of the family is the children, the kids and the teenagers that are being impacted by living in a home with addiction. And I know there's a lot of parents out there, there's a lot of grandparents, there's a lot of caregivers, and just concerned people who know some kids that are really struggling with being in an addicted home, and they're wondering how to help, because many times you feel very powerless in those situations to help. But I'm telling you, there's something you can do that makes a huge life-saving, life-changing difference to those children. And that is helping them by teaching them how to process their emotions, giving them a safe place to talk about what is going on in their lives. See, I see where a lot of people, they get lost in how hopeless the situation is. And they're like, there's nothing I can do to change that home. There's nothing that I can do to change the reality for my kids. They're living with an addicted person, and there's nothing we can do about it. It's just a hopeless situation. You can see that it's not going to get better. And that's where I see people quit. They quit and they don't realize that there is still something they can do to help those kids. So I want to share with you what I do and what I teach others, mainly parents, on how to help their children through that very difficult situation. So I'm going to give you 3 steps, and then I'm going to give you an example of how I talk to kids in a way that helps them process their emotions. But before I get into that, let me explain why this is so important. Okay? Many times, most of the time, in an addicted home, the circumstances are so extreme, so bad, that kids have no clue where to start with how to handle their emotions, how to process what's going on in their lives. So they stuff it. They stuff it down, they avoid it, they stay away from those really bad, horrible feelings because they don't know what to do with them. And they just build and they build and they build. And I promise you, I see it all the time. Those emotions are going to come out with 2 very important truths. 1, they're going to come out in very random, unpredictable ways. And 2, they're going to be unhelpful. They are going to be, they're going to cause more distress in that child's life or in that teenager's life. We need to give those kids a way to deal with their emotions. Because if we don't, bad things happen, right? They will build those emotions to the point that they have an explosion of overreactive behavior that causes more distress in their life, or they're going to implode. They're going to get depressed, hopeless, anxious, even to the point of becoming suicidal. And we have to give them a safe place and a safe way to deal with their emotions, even though we know that we really can't control the overall situation that they are living in. So let me get into the points of how you can talk to your kids or any kid that's going to help them out. All right, so the first step is you need to help them identify their emotion. All right, and that might seem very basic, but that's where most kids are, especially in traumatized homes, is they really have no understanding of what emotions they're feeling, how they're feeling them. They just experience them, right? And they just react to them. It's something that just kind of, they feel all through their body, but they can't put it into words, right? So they're scared, they're anxious, they're terrified, they're sad, but they don't know even what they're feeling, but that's what's really going on. So we got to help them identify it. And a lot of times that's a conversation where you can talk to a kid and say, what's going on? I can tell you're upset. I can tell something's bothering you. What's happening in your life. and get to what they're thinking about. Because they're not going to be able to tell you about their emotions, but they can tell you about, mommy and daddy got in a fight, or we don't have enough money for groceries, or I'm worried that mommy can't wake up in the morning and we're going to have to take her to the hospital again. They're going to tell you about experiences. And teenagers, they'll do the same thing, but it'll be in a teenage way, if you get what I'm saying. They're going to talk about their experiences. That is where they need help connecting that with emotions. And a lot of times you just kind of label it for them, like, wow, that sounds like you're really scared, or that sounds like you're really worried, or that sounds like you're really sad about what's going on. And why that's important is because it helps them have a connection between the way they're feeling and what's going on. It's not just that they're crazy. It's not just that they're out of control and they don't know why. You're saying, look, you are feeling this emotion and there's a reason for it. And that's kind of the second step, is you normalize the emotion. You make it okay. You help them understand that what you're feeling makes sense. It's kind of like, I get it. You're worried about your mom and her having to go back to the hospital. You're worried your dad's gonna hit his girlfriend again, or you're worried that you guys aren't gonna have enough money, or that's really sad, or you're scared because these things are going on. So it's not just you. There's a reason why you're feeling this way, and that's really big for kids and teenagers. They're very egocentric. The world revolves around them. So everything that happens, they feel like they have something to do with it, and they feel bad about it. And you're helping them understand, like, no, this isn't just because of you. It's stuff and things that are happening in your life, and that's why you're feeling this way. And it's okay to feel that way. There's no good or bad feeling. That's what's going on. And then you move them into this third step, which is you help them focus on what they can do. Because the children are feeling so powerless in those moments, so hopeless in those moments. They feel out of control. And you empower them. You help them by saying, kind of going through the steps. This is what you're feeling. You're feeling sad. You're feeling scared. And here's why you're feeling it. And it's okay that you're feeling that way. But what do you need to do for yourself? What's something that you can do for you right now to feel a little better, to deal with the situation? You could go play with a friend. We could talk more about it. Maybe you go play a game. You can do something in those moments. You have some options, and that's very important because that empowers them, and they feel a little bit more control, whereas before they felt completely out of control. And that matters so much, right? When you have those conversations with a kid who's being traumatized by a difficult situation, one, they feel heard, which is really big. So many of them just feel alone, and like no one cares, no one understands. And it's like, I see you, I hear you, I'm giving you attention. And not only that, you're helping them understand that what they're feeling is okay, and they still can do something to feel a little better, right? That means so much. That might be the connection that makes all the difference for them as they're growing up and they don't have to go down that same path. They're tough situations. They're tough situations, and I know we want to fix it for our kids or the children that we're trying to help. Sometimes we just can't fix it. We just can't fix it, but we can be there for those kids. We can attend to their emotional needs, and it makes a big difference. So let me tell you one more thing. This is one of the ways that I talk with kids and teens about their emotions. Because one, they don't even get it, right? You can't speak clinical language. Like, you need to process your emotions and deal with what's happening so you have better mental health. No, they're not going to get that, And many times they're like, I don't even know what you're talking about. Why do I need to feel these emotions? Why do I need to talk about this? So you got to connect with them. Stories, examples, metaphors, analogies really work well because it connects on their level. Here's one that I use. I'll tell the kid, the teenager, I'll say, imagine that you wanted to do something with a friend, right? You wanted to have fun with them. But when you saw your friend, you could tell something was wrong. You could tell they were upset about something. And in fact, they even said, I feel kind of upset. And then you said, no, we're not going to feel upset. We're here to have fun. We're not going to feel upset. We're going to have fun. Let's go have fun. And so you go do something you think is fun. After a while, you see your friend is still upset. Actually, they're more upset. And they tell you, like, I feel even more upset now. And you say, no, you can't feel that. We're not being upset here. We're having fun. We're not paying attention to bad feelings. We're only doing good stuff, fun stuff. Don't think that. Let's just have fun. And then that pattern repeats and it repeats. But every time you tell your friend to not think about what's going on, not talk about what's going on, they seem to feel a little worse. And the reason they feel worse is because something really is going on. Something is really bothering them. And they can pretend that they are having a good time, but underneath it's still bothering them. And it builds and it builds and it builds to a point they just say, why won't you listen to me? Why won't you talk to me? And they get so angry at you. And you're thinking, I just wanted to have fun. But their emotions built up to a point it exploded, right? And I tell them, I'm like, that's kind of what you're doing. You are avoiding your emotions, right? Because you don't want to feel that. You don't want to feel those bad feelings, but it's really important you do. And you know what would be really good for that friend in that situation is if you were to stop and say, hey, what's wrong? What's going on? And then they tell you about how there's some bad stuff going on in their house. And you tell them like, well, that sounds really sad. That sounds like you would be angry about that. And I could see where you're scared. But it's okay. It's okay you feel that way because that's some really bad stuff that's happening. But what could you do? What could I do? What could we do to help out here? To give you something to do so you could feel a little bit better, right? That is what you would do for that friend, and that's what you need to do for yourself. You need to recognize that something's going on. You got to figure out what those emotions are, and then you got to do something with them because you just can't carry them around and stuff them down inside because it's just going to explode and it's going to be so painful and so much worse. So, that's kind of the general idea of, how one of the ways I talk to kids. And there's so many different situations, you kind of have to adapt it. But what I was trying to explain to you is that how important it is that you make the effort to help kids talk about what's going on in their life, even when the situation isn't going to get better anytime soon. They need that support. They need that connection. And believe me, it makes a world of difference in those kids' lives. And it's cool to hear, sometimes years later from a kid, how much just listening to them and just helping them think through that time in their life made a big difference. So I hope that helped you out. Whatever you're dealing with, don't give up. I really believe there's always option. There's always hope. Don't give up. And, keep tuning into these videos. I'm going to make some more. If you have specific questions, let me know. And I will talk to you soon. Thanks, guys.